Alrighty, the first report is the May financial statements dashboard report. I'm not sure where it is in your, it's obviously right after the donation situation. And again, we're through 11 months. We talked last month about obviously Amendment 2, and a week ago we approved next year's budget. So this is really for your information only. We'll true everything up during the course of our audit, which will begin in September. But this is tracking as we expected after Amendment 2, which is some of the Amendment 2. The big change on this month's report, if you look down below the balance sheet information general fund, the bonded debt line, you'll see in the 2019 column a number of $222,015,000. That does reflect the additional $77 million that was issued in May. So that's our total outstanding debt now, with all debt issues being issued, and generally we make principal payments in May and in November, so we'll see that amount go down as the years go by here, if you will. So we're up to about almost $69 million in bond spending. That's on a cash basis. There's, of course, as Mr. Clon-Parents has mentioned, this by the time we get into the summer here, we'll have, I think, $60 million approximately under construction at various stages. And so that will continue to move forward from that perspective. So any questions on financial? And again, behind the flat dashboard report is all the detail that we normally provide the board. So.
Yeah. Were you able to get in?
You know what, I was on it earlier, I'm not able to get on it now. I did notice though, I didn't really have any questions on it, just that even with the dashboard, it did show we were in good on fund balance, and I was pleased to see that.
Okay. All right, so no, I guess no questions. Yeah, Dr. Ford was just saying he can't see it right now, but
okay.
he did review it earlier, and so no, but no, we're good, thank you. So yeah, on the warm, safe, and dry updates then.
Oh, sorry.
Safe and dry. We were intending to do a roof project at East Leonard. That was going to be our single warm, safe, and dry this summer. We bid it twice, only got one bidder. And after the second time, it turned out that bid was about 60% high. So we chose not to proceed with that.
60%, you said?
High. So we are regrouping to see what we can do to get that the East Leonard roof repaired enough to get through the next school year, and then try again next year. It's just right now very difficult to get roofing bidders.
Maybe hence that's part of why it was high, just because demand
There was
high.
one.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yes. So
Gotcha.
bond projects, Southwest High School, foundations are going in, steel is coming out of the ground, that's moving along. Ottawa, we are working in the gym locker room area and the South House. Right now, the gym is slated to be back in service around the 1st of November to be ready for winter basketball season. And we really don't have a good date on when the South House will be ready to switch over yet. But those are the two areas, along with the administrative addition has started.
So when you say switch over,
Well, we vacated the South House.
Yeah.
And when we complete the South House, we will move into it and vacate the North House.
Okay,
And
okay.
keep moving the students around so they're isolated from the construction as much as possible.
gotcha. Okay.
I'll do North Park separately, but the other air conditioning projects are wrapping up at Brookside, Shawmut, and East Leonard. And then in the purchasing agenda is a recommendation to accept the bids on Union.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I before, just so you have it before you get to purchasing, the Union bids actually came in quite well. We are right on budget target with the bids that we have, so What's being asked for is about 16.6 million. And then separately from that is 133,000 to do asbestos abatement. Difference with both Ottawa and Union are we can isolate areas of the school and close them off, build temporary walls, block them off, so it's much easier process.
North Park, yeah.
So those are on your purchase agenda, along with there's a recommendation for security entrance modifications. That would be in this building, and building some security transaction walls for HR, the security office, and payroll.
Okay.
If there are no questions, I'll move on to North Park. North Park, we have completed the cleanup in North Park. The cleaning company went through all the items. They used a wet wipe and a HEPA-vac cleaning process. The cleaning company is an asbestos abatement contractor. That was critical so that they could determine what they could clean properly. If they couldn't clean it, it was bagged and tagged where it came from, and it is now outside in a locked storage container. If it was cleaned, we then moved everything into the gym by classroom. Once we got it all together, we then tested the whole building to make sure that it passed the air tests, and then we moved everything out into storage containers, so the contractor now has a vacant building to work in. Our challenge will be 1st of August, moving back in, and from our ops perspective, getting all the materials back in, and a teacher's perspective, resetting up their classrooms. It's going to be a lot of work and a challenge for everybody. But the contractor was able to clean more than we expected, so that was good news. We have to work through a process of what do we do with the uncleaned items. Do we offer them back to, if they're owned by a teacher or a student, and how do we have some kind of waiver? How do we handle that? We're still working through that, but we don't anticipate that happening until August, when we can move back into the classrooms.
Okay.
We do have a few items that were cleaned that we know are personal, and if we can get our hands on them, we'll work out a way to give them back to students. Depends on where they are in the containers, if we can get to them. We did have an incident of vandalism when the fire extinguishers were sprayed throughout the building. We had to have another setback and get a cleaning crew in and clean that up. But other than that, there was very little damage. There was, I believe, one teaching item that was left in the building that was damaged, but fortunately, we'd just gotten all the materials out.
Okay.
If not, we'd have been set back a couple of weeks for sure. So
Okay.
we intend to be back and have the air conditioning project done when the staff comes back in August,
Okay.
and be able to move in and go be as back to normal as we can when school starts.
Yeah. And the teachers are due back when?
By contract, they can start coming back August 1st.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be a tight transition.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, thank you. Sustainability update?
Kristen?
Hello. I wanted to take an opportunity to update you all on the Green Schoolyards work and projects that we've been working on. You may recall that this work is funded by the Wegge Foundation. It funds the design and construction of 4 separate green schoolyard projects at 4 different sites across the district. That work is an outgrowth of the Cities Connecting Children to Nature initiative and grant that the City of Grand Rapids received a few years ago. And this is all in partnership with the City of Grand Rapids and specifically their Parks and Rec department. So we're combining our grant dollars with some of their grant dollars, some of their parks dollars. They've gotten some grants for stormwater infrastructure projects and things like that. So the first site is Burton Elementary and Middle, also Plaster Creek Park. That work began a little over a year ago with design and outreach. We started construction on that in May, late May, and we held the groundbreaking a week ago on the 17th. Construction will continue throughout this summer. We anticipate having a grand reopening of that park and a celebration with the students, and that to happen in late September. We don't have a date yet for that, but when we do, I imagine we'll probably have a date closer to August when we can see how the construction is progressing. Depends on a little bit on the weather, whether it's favorable to working conditions and things like that, but we'll be keeping an eye on that this summer. Key components of that Green Schoolyard project are an outdoor classroom that we're referring to as the Nest, and a nature play area, which we're referring to as the Meadows. It's kind of just beyond the track, if you're familiar with that park. We'll also have some stormwater upgrades, so looking at how we're draining and routing the water in that area, as well as some accessibility upgrades, particularly for students, staff, and community members to get down the hill that is behind Burton as you enter the park from the north side there. The second project we are working on is at Kenosha. We have just started, so Burton is by far the farthest along in this process. It was the one we started with first, and also the largest. The second is Kenosha, so we have started meeting internally as a district team to identify our needs for that site, our priorities, our opportunities, and we'll also be meeting with the city over the summer to share those, and a lot of the work will happen on the city land, so we're going to be working together to identify what the best fit is for that, for what kind of green schoolyard features we would want at that site, and how much of it will be placed on city property versus GRPS property. And we'll also be working on developing an outreach plan to implement in the fall, so that we can get a neighborhood, community input, student, teacher, staff input, parent input, and all of that. So that will be happening yet this fall, with construction starting next summer. The last two sites are Buchanan and Sigsbee, and we've lumped them together because those two sites are rather constrained in the space that is available for green schoolyard features. We have carved out some areas on each of those sites that we've reserved for green schoolyard features. For Buchanan, we've earmarked a few areas for raised bed gardens, an outdoor classroom with seating for students. At Sigsbee, we've earmarked some areas for nature play components. The design for each of these sites is not complete, or we're really just beginning at that point, and there will be a lot of opportunity to work through that design, as well as ensure that the final design meets the needs of the building occupants and the communities in that area. But that work will continue. Design and outreach will continue this fall, similarly to Kenosha, with construction next summer of summer 2020.
So it all sounds very interesting. Are we anticipating Burton to be ready for fall, though?
Yes, it won't be ready for school starting. It will be ready this fall. We're targeting late September. Yeah.
Okay.
And none of the construction is close to the building. All of the ramp work that will be done on that hill that is the closest to the building, that will be done by the time
Okay.
students are in the building.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you. Any questions from either of you? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dream Fund?
Yeah, the last report, and you should have a handout that we had an adjustment, late adjustment on that. So these are the Dream Fund approvals that are applications that fell between the $2,500 and $10,000 mark for the alternative approval on our side procedures. So the deal was that we would report to the Finance Committee for these level of grants. So just two of them over the last month or 6 weeks, I think. Union High School, which that hasn't taken place yet. It's been funded. I'm not sure the timeline. as to when that'll happen, probably in the fall when the kids get back. And then Stocking Elementary, Great Lakes Experience, that took place prior to school getting out. So those are the only two that came through. We did have a brief conference call with the Community Foundation. The $165,000 that they allocated for Dream Fund grants expire at the end of this month. So they were on June 30th year end. They haven't decided yet whether they will fund Dream grants going forward, or at least at the level they did this year. That is a decision we will make during the summer. There are a few more that we are in the process of I guess some due diligence, if you will, some larger grants. So we need more input from folks on our side. Then it'll need to go to their approval committee, but that won't happen until August. So, but those would be granted under the current year allocation of $165,000. And I suspect they'll know by August whether they'll have more money available going forward for the 19-20
Do you know,
year.
out of that 165, the allocation, how much has been used?
Most of it.
Most of it.
Most of it, yeah. Yeah. In fact, a couple of these end grants here, the comment was, we're not sure we can fund them in full depending on how things turn out. So they, I guess that's a good thing that they were able to find worthy projects for all $165,000. Again, all generated by students and teachers and administrators, and a couple with community organizations, which beginning this past January, community organizations and parents could also apply for certain projects. So a lot of good's been done.
Okay.
A bit of a administrative efforts on our part as a business office, but that's okay. Things are going. We've got all the issues worked out, I think, now and moving forward. So.
All right. Good news. Comments from either of you? All right. So I guess we'll just go back up to our action items then. The purchasing agenda.
Yeah, the purchasing agenda, there are a number of items on there. Many of them under the general fund are for purchases going into the new fiscal year. As Ken mentioned, there are a number of projects under the bond project section of the purchasing agenda, the biggest one being the Union High School renovation project at almost $17 million. So Ken and I will certainly address any questions you might have about the purchasing agenda.
I should note on the Union High in the purchasing agenda, it lists Earhart. That should be Owen Ames Kimball, and we'll
that's
get
right.
that corrected.
Okay.
I saw that too, and it didn't dawn on me.
Gotcha.
OAK, yep.
Okay. No, I didn't have any questions about it myself. You know, you and I did talk. I did find it interesting about the MCA membership dues for $700,000, and that obviously had gotten some attention. But just for your information, that's property liability insurance. And
Middle Cities is as you can see there, it's a risk management trust. It's pooled, if you will, a pooled insurance pool. And for some reason, the
Yeah.
premium payments they characterize as membership dues, but that $718,000 does not buy us a golf course membership. It buys us property liability insurance
Yeah.
for all our buildings.
that knocks stuff out. So yeah. Any purchasing agenda comments or questions from either? Okay. All in favor of moving the purchasing agenda forward to the full board, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And none opposed, so we'll move that forward. And then the donation for Heart of West Michigan.
Yeah, that donation, United Way wanted to make a donation in honor of a retiring superintendent to be used at her discretion. And so she has determined that she wants that to be used for literacy initiatives. She has a couple, I think, ideas in mind. That will be, actually, I think we just got an invoice, and that'll be funded here very, very quickly, pending your approval, and will be used for those initiatives in the next school year.
All righty. Questions about the donation, Martin West Michigan? All right, well, all in favor of moving that donation to the full board, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, there being none, then that'll go forward as well. And I guess that completes our agenda for today. There being nothing under policy or other, unless there's anything that maybe isn't noted that you guys,
Nothing of note, we still don't have a state budget. As I said earlier,
still none.
it's not intended that it's going to happen before the end of July, and so just stay tuned.
Okie dokie. All right, well, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Excuse the tardiness, too.